Ever feel like you're walking straight into one of those mystery novels where you look around and everybody, I mean everybody,
Yeah.
seems a little bit
And
suspicious,
it's like you just walked into the start of a really good Clue game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're diving into today with Eyewitness Ghost. This will be our guidebook, chapters 3 and 4, 6 and 7. We'll hit a couple others as we go, but it's a wild story. Suspicious
Yeah.
death, a missing bike. Oh, and a whole lot of secrets we got to uncover.
And I think what really makes this deep dive so interesting is that it's not just about, who done it.
Right.
It's about how we see the world, how easily we can be tricked,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, like how do we really know what we think we know?
Exactly. And we get to go through all that, questioning everything right alongside the main character, Nick.
Yeah, Nick. Poor Nick.
Poor Nick, because he's dealing with, well, first of all, his neighbor vanishes.
Keisha.
Keisha, basketball star, disappears in the middle of the night after a trip to a graveyard, of all places.
Ew, spooky.
Yeah, and then I mentioned Nick's pretty sure he saw a ghost accusing Keisha of murder.
While her bike is missing.
Oh, yeah.
Can't forget about that.
While his own bike goes missing,
What?
too. I mean, talk about adding insult to injury.
Seriously.
He leans it's his dad's old vintage Schwinn Stingray.
Oh, wow.
Leans it up against a tree while they're in this graveyard.
Okay.
Comes back, it's gone.
Gone.
Poof.
And all they find is
Little oil stain, some tire tracks.
tire tracks. But of course, the police are so focused on this hit and run theory.
They're completely convinced. Yeah.
Like tunnel vision, right?
Oh, 100%.
They're so sure that they don't even stop to think, well, maybe there's something else going on here. That's the thing, isn't it? That confirmation bias. It's just, how many times have you lost your keys and you only look in like the same two places?
Every single time.
Every time. Even though they're never there.
Right. And they're not going to be there, but you still look.
You still look. It's human nature, I guess.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that aren't where they're supposed to be.
This van.
The van.
The van. Okay, so the police later find a van. Matches the description of one that was seen hanging out at the local car wash. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because this car wash is the same place Keisha's brother, Kwame, works.
Kwame. All right. Now, Kwame is a whole other can of worms right here.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's already a suspect, right?
In a different murder.
In a totally different murder case. But he's saying, no. I was at the car wash when Keisha disappeared.
Airtight alibi, right.
Airtight alibi, except this van that was supposedly there the whole time. Suddenly, it just appears.
After they start asking questions.
Suspicious, man.
Super suspicious, right? And to make the whole thing even weirder, what do they find inside the van?
Oh, no. Don't tell me.
Nick's dad's missing bike.
No way.
I know. So, I mean, what is this? A coincidence? A really weird red herring?
Oh.
Or is there something darker going on?
Right. You gotta wonder. And Kwame, I mean, what about his alibi? Is he being framed? Is there more to the story?
Is he being framed?
Yes.
Or is he lying?
Right. And the way the author does it, all these little details, it's like breadcrumbs of doubt everywhere. It just makes you think, who can you trust in this whole thing?
And that's the question, right? Because it's not just the characters.
It's everything.
It's the information, too. It's like, can you even trust what you're being told?
Exactly.
And then you've got Sister Seance.
Oh, Sister Seance. Now, she's a piece of work.
Okay, so Keisha, she goes to this psychic, Sister Seance. Now, Sister Seance claims she can talk to the dead.
Right.
Right? Even said she contacted the ghost who accused Keisha of murder.
Hold on. Something doesn't add up.
Doesn't exactly scream humble mystic, does it?
It really makes you wonder, right? Is she legit? Or is she just using people's, their grief, their hope for a quick buck?
That's what I'm saying,
Crap.
Which unfortunately, let's be real, that happens in the real world all the time.
Oh, all the time. People prey on vulnerability. They offer these easy answers.
A false hope?
False hope for a price.
Yeah.
It's a reminder, be careful who you trust, especially when they're the ones with their hand out.
Especially when they show up in a yellow Mercedes.
Exactly. Now, speaking of suspicious characters, let's not forget about T.
Oh, T.
Keisha's teammate.
Yes?
Talk about motives and opportunity.
She's got them both.
Right. I mean, come on, suddenly, conveniently timed wrist injury.
Yeah, like right before the big trial. Something's fishy there.
And then she just miraculously recovers, good as new, ready to, what was it?
Trying to make her big move.
Right.
It just felt off from the get-go. Like she was playing some kind of game. We just didn't know the rule.
And that feeling, right, that you're not getting the full story, that you're just a little bit off balance, I think that's what the author's going for.
Oh, yeah.
Because just like Nick, We're thrown into this world where we can't trust appearances. Easy answer.
You got to look deeper.
Exactly.
You can't just scratch the surface. So, listeners,
This is where we need your help.
we got to ask, what has stood out to you so far? What do you think is the most suspicious and why? You know, it's funny you should mention, like, feeling off balance, because that's Nick in a nutshell.
Oh, total.
The guy, he's obsessed with these old detective shows. Cool Gold Gazette. Like, uses them as his guidebook to life.
Which, I gotta say, it's a pretty brilliant move from the author, right? I mean, weaving those shows into the actual story.
Oh, for sure.
It's like a whole other layer of investigation going on.
Exactly. Like, he's constantly, oh, remember that episode? Or this is just like that time on. It's crazy.
And it's not just for kicks, right? He and his little blogger buddies, they have this whole system.
SIN numbers.
Yeah. Serial investigation numbers. I mean, who comes up with this stuff?
I know, right? But they're categorizing these episodes, analyzing for clues, patterns.
Like they're building a database of fictional crimes.
Which, okay, sounds a little out there.
Just a tech.
But then again, when you think about it, how much of what we think about crime, like how investigation should go, it comes from stuff we've seen, right?
Oh, 100%. All those tropes, the red herrings, the surprise witnesses at the last minute.
Don't forget the seemingly meaningless detail that cracks the whole thing wide open.
Exactly. It's like a formula, and we're all kind of in on it.
And in this case, Nick's obsession, his little database, might actually be what blows this case wide open.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, he keeps mentioning this one episode, Vacations to Die For.
Okay.
Says it feels really familiar, like it's connected somehow.
Interesting.
At first glance, totally unrelated,
Yep.
right? Tropical island, suspicious drowning.
Right. Different MO entirely.
Totally. But as Nick digs deeper, he starts noticing these weird parallels, these echoes.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
And I think this is where the author, they get you good.
How so?
Because we're so used to the classic mystery formula, find the bad guy, tie everything up in a neat little bow.
Right. Wrap it up.
Exactly. We forget to consider, what if it's not a single missing piece we're looking for?
What if the whole puzzle's a fake?
Bingo. What if we're so busy trying to solve the wrong mystery?
Okay, now that's a twist.
That's what Nick starts to realize. He's so focused on the who and the how that the why gets totally overlooked.
The why is always the most important, though, isn't it?
Always. And that's where Vacations to Die For comes back in. It's not the specifics, more like the structure of the episode,
Okay.
how they use misdirection, how they manipulate the investigation. It hits, Nick, what if someone's doing that right now in real life? Using this whole murdered referee ghost accusations as a distraction.
To cover up what, though?
That's the million-dollar question, right? But think about it. Who'd be in the perfect position to pull something like this off?
Someone who knows how these things work.
Someone who understands storytelling, how to use people's fascination with, well, the spooky stuff.
To their advantage.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Are you serious?
Let's just say things, as always, are not what they seem. And sometimes. The best lies, they sound an awful lot like the truth.
Oh, man. I think I need a minute to process this.
I think we all do.
But it makes you wonder, right? What happens when the regular ways of doing things, they fail?
That's a heavy thought. Makes you question everything, If someone can manipulate reality that well in a book,
Yeah.
what's stopping them in real life?
Right. Especially these days, it feels like we're drowning in information. Half of it's designed to mislead us anyway.
No kidding. Fact, fiction. It's getting harder and harder to tell the difference.
So what do we do, right? How do we make sure we're not getting played, especially when the lines are that blurry?
That's the million-dollar question.
I think it starts with being a little skeptical, Question everything.
Don't take anything at face value.
Right. And remember, sometimes the most convincing stories, they're the ones we tell ourselves.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Eyewitness Ghost, remember, folks, don't believe everything you see, think for yourselves, and never stop looking for those hidden truths. Until next time, stay curious.